If you can stand some decent news, let's celebrate this. America is getting a raise. Another victory to report here for in the street activism. 20 states and 32 cities increased their minimum wage effective January 1 of this year. In your face, corporate financial magazines for reporting things like Where the Fight for 15 Went Wrong, written by Chris Matthews. Unclear whether it was Spittle Chris Matthews or another one, and I'm not all that interested in spending your time finding out. But seriously, take a quick look at how Forbes covered the fight for 15. This is a Google search. Pretty much they're all from Forbes. Look at all these stories. News reports mask the beginning of the end for the fight for 15. The case against Florida cities joining the fight for 15. Lowest wage workers will be the biggest losers of the fight for 15. Now, if a headline like that was in, the American Prospect or something, maybe I would click on it and read it and assume that you literally actually cared. But you are Forbes. So enough with the bullshit, false sympathy for the lowest wage workers. Anywho, 27 of those places getting minimum wage hikes either hit or exceed $15 per hour so that the Walmart workers can afford to actually buy Walmart food. What a novel idea. Maybe they can get off food stamps. Not that I shame food stamps or that I don't agree with the fact that we should have a social safety net, but we should not be subsidizing corporations who are making billions of dollars off the backs of not, paying their workers a livable wage. Anyway, don't get me started. We can expect another round of wage floor hikes in 2021 when 4 more states and 18 localities like cities, townships, etc. are going to increase the minimum wage, 13 of those to at least $15 an hour. Where, you ask? Well, here's the current map. But you can check out a new report called Raises from Coast to Coast in 2021, released by the National Employment Law Project. These good folks monitor worker pay and they advocate for a higher minimum wage nationwide. Since 2020, by the way, when fast food workers at a McDonald's in New York City launched the first Fight for 15 in a union protest, I was there covering it for act.tv. Woot! It was also a strike, not just a protest. The movement to raise wages has gained major traction, amassing a series of victories that have yielded more than $68 billion in raises for workers nationwide, which is good because according to the recent stimulus bill, the U.S. government is not going to help you with shit. And there are more union victories. Hundreds of Google employees successfully formed a union. More than 225 Google engineers and other workers announced today that they have unionized, which is highly unusual for the tech industry. Big tech has long resisted efforts to organize its largely white-collar workforce. Perhaps they are afraid that white-collar workers will finally come to see their plight as quite similar to blue-collar workers. And when that veil of superiority of collars falls away and everybody sees that it's workers against owners and that workers could actually demand part ownership and a say in the direction of the company, well, I think it might be trouble for Bezos. So let's not discuss it. But we are discussing it. By the way, the article that I got this piece of news about Google from says, and I quote, the unionization at Google follows increasing demands by its employees for policy overhauls on pay, harassment, and ethics. Very good. But I want to point out that the people who work at Google are always called employees. Google calls them employees. The article calls them employees. Everyone calls them employees. Cut to the montage of the newscasters saying Google employees. No, wait. I don't have time to make you a montage. No one calls Google's engineers workers, yet Walmart has workers, Amazon workers, Google engineers. Guess what? You're workers. You are still, for all intents and purposes, the proletariat. Proletariat. the class of modern wage laborers who, having no means of production of their own, are reduced to selling their labor power in order to live. We are all going to do better when we remember that we are all one. The new Google union, called the Alphabet Workers Union, was organized in secret for the better part of a year, and it elected its leadership last month. Google workers' labor organizing is the clearest sign of how thoroughly employee activism has swept through Silicon Valley over the last few years. While software engineers and other tech workers largely kept quiet in the past on societal and political issues, employees at Amazon, Salesforce, Pinterest, and others have become more vocal on matters like diversity, pay discrimination, and sexual harassment. And just in time, because little did they know they were going to have to work together to throw the president of the United States off of Facebook and Twitter. And we at ACT.tv, by the way, have been there to help them. I was at a Salesforce protest, an Amazon protest, another Amazon protest, another Amazon protest. And check this out. Teachers in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, walked out on strike in December for the first time since 1983, even though, as you can see here, the temperature was recorded to be absolute zero. Nonetheless, they demanded improvements to their contract after the state tried to privatize education, and it forced a budget crisis. It's probably that cold in the classroom, too. They're likely not heating it. Teachers started the first day of picketing with snow shovels and blowers to clear the sidewalks. The organizing worked even when they were confronted with having their health care cut off, a move designed to scare members into crossing the picket line. The union got a 2-year contract instead of a 1-year contract, and in a huge win, they safeguarded tenure for 5 more years, staving off an arbitrary and, I might add, punitive school evaluation system that was, being pushed by the district. Union members say their victory shows that a well-organized group of workers can reject needless austerity. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm Julianna Forlano. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I say this exact same speech at the end of every video. You probably have it memorized. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.